Okay, so as usual, I'll just say a few things for the first 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll sit. I'll lead the sit, and then there'll be time for a few of you to, yeah, if you want to say something about what you noticed in the practice today. But I wanted to start off talking about, well, I've been using a quote on retreats recently from Bhante, and it's from way back on the First Order Convention. So something like 50 years ago, he quoted in answer to a question from Kamala Sheila, how do you know that spiritual growth is happening? What's one of the signs? And he said, well, there'll be a growth in awareness. That's what you'll notice. You'll see a growth in awareness. He did go on to say other things, but that was the thing that he really focused on. As an indication that your practice is growing, is strengthening your practice overall. But how do you know your practice of awareness itself is effective, and how do you know that that is working? So working with right view in our case, and working with this helpful perspective. And there are different ways, and we've touched on them through some of these mornings. But one way, I think, can be feedback from other people, can be when other people sort of notice things in you that they think are different or think have changed. And you can see how that links back to the practice. And I had one of those moments recently while I was away in Australia. And a friend fed back to me very strongly some positive feedback that she felt that she was really impressed with the way that I could sort of roll with the punches, or roll with change, and have a certain degree of equanimity in the face of uncertainty. And I could see quite exactly how that was linked back to the practice, which in a way is good, because it means you take it less personally. It's nice to hear, and you think, oh yeah, this is a result of practice. I just wanted to say that's not always the case with me. I don't always roll with uncertainty. And particularly, I think that can be the case for us if something, if we're triggered by something. There's a particular reactive response, maybe a trauma response. So that's often in relationship to specific behaviors or specific relationships. You get triggered by something. There's one, I know one for me, which I think is getting less over time, but is feeling forgotten about. If I feel like I'm being ignored or forgotten about, then there's a vulnerability around that, and that will trigger. So I don't always react with equanimity around that. But other times I can see that it's true, and there's more resilience to change. There's a sense of, okay, that's happened. What do I need to do now, or what do we need to do now? And my friend was actually saying this in relation to a particular example, something that happened when we were in Australia. And we were on retreat. I'll tell you about it. We were on retreat. It was an order retreat. It was the evening of, we'd just arrived, basically. So the next day was going to be the first full day. And the next day was what they called a total fire ban day. And the level, they have different levels where they pitch the danger of bushfires. And the level was the highest level, which they call catastrophic. So there we were in the middle of the countryside, in the middle of the bush, with catastrophic fire level. And when that happens, I was informed, I hadn't known this until this minute. When that happens, if you're in rental accommodation, then you have to leave. You have to go somewhere else. And the place that was suggested by the owner was a shopping mall because it would be air conditioned, a shopping mall about 20 miles away. So there we were, beginning of the retreat. And the next day it looked like, okay, there was a strong word, catastrophic weather conditions. So the danger of the bushfires were very high. And the next word that was used was, okay, so evacuate. We need to evacuate. There was room for us all to leave in the cars, but there was not room for our luggage. So yeah, we left all our luggage behind. We didn't go to a shopping mall. We went to the Melbourne Buddhist Centre, which was great, and we had a day retreat. But if you don't live in that environment, these words are all quite shocking, I think. Total fire ban, catastrophic weather, and the need to evacuate, to just leave as quickly as possible. But actually, I felt like okay, this is what do we need to do now? What do we need to do? What do I need to know? Who do we need to talk to? And it all felt like it was managed by myself and my friend who was the organizer of the retreat, quite calmly. So I think it comes directly out of the practice of just being with what's happening, with what's there right now, being in the present, what's needed. So there's I think the quality of samprajanya, of clearly knowing, that works with awareness. So awareness and clearly knowing, mindful and clearly knowing, sati samprajanya, those qualities working together are so helpful in training our minds and hearts to be able to be with what's happening. So the practice is actually noticing if the mind accepts what's happening, if there is a sense of allowing what's happening to be there or not. So we're not really trying to accept something that we don't feel, but we're noticing how the mind actually is. What is the present moment honest response? Sayadaw U Tejaniya, he says, don't try to be patient, for example. He says, just watch impatience. Yeah, if that's what's there, then that's what we observe. What it feels like, what it thinks like. So there is an encouragement in the practice to encourage the mind to be with difficult and unwanted experience, and also unexpected experience. That's what I'd put my experience in Australia under that category. Really, it was completely unexpected and unfamiliar to the normal pattern of retreats that I either go on or that I lead. Yeah, so not making a problem from something that's happening, but learning to ride those waves of change. And then I think that we start to understand, the mind starts to understand that this is what samsara is like on a very deep level. We're not just telling ourselves what samsara is like, but these things happen. The mind starts to really understand that a lot of what happens is not in our control. But we can ride with it, and we can do our best to be with it, do what needs to be done. That's a phrase that I heard many years ago, and it was used in a talk by a Dharmacharini, Dhiranandi, and she described this factor of serenity. The mind that has serenity within it is a mind that's just able to do what needs to be done without creating more waves around that. So I think we can notice those moments when samsara doesn't give us what we want or what we expect. Notice those moments, that samsara. We really see that it's not perfect. And notice those moments where there's an acceptance of imperfection, and whether that's in the world or within ourselves. Whether when there's calm, when there's equanimity or sense of tolerance of what's happening, and even humor. I had an incident, which I won't go into, but a bus journey where a bus driver just clearly had no idea where he was going. It was a replacement bus service for a train that couldn't run. And he pretty much went round in circles. He hit pretty much every third curb that was going. He did a 20-point turn at traffic lights. So he decided they were taking too long. So he turned around and went the wrong way. And actually, it got to be quite amusing. It got to be quite funny, even though the journey took more than twice as long as it should have done. So in the face of uncertainty, notice when our responses are not how they perhaps used to be. Perhaps they've changed. And there might well be a dual response. So notice that as well. There may be some sort of response from the nervous system, some stress response, but actually there can also be quite a degree of acceptance or allowing, oh, well, this is what's happening and what's needed now. And let those moments of being with what's happening give you confidence that your practice of awareness is deepening, it's strengthening, and it's growing. Really take that in. Okay, so that's a little bit longer than usual. Takes a bit longer telling stories. Let's just stop the recording.